Hey everybody. This clip is about BoardWorks. This is an application that we've had through the state, and we are losing it through the state, but we're looking at keeping it as a district. I know some of you are already using it. I've heard very good things about it. So I just wanted to be sure that everyone knows it's an option and how to access the program. So you want to Google BoardWorks Education. The web address is boardworkseducation.com. And this one is very user friendly. If you go to that website and log in using your TCAT email, and I'm already logged in, but if you were not, you would just type in your username and password. These were set by the state. So you should have received an email from them about how to log into BoardWorks. But once you get into the program, you have quite a library of materials, and these are leveled by K-12 grades. So elementary school is kindergarten through fifth. Middle school would be sixth through ninth, I believe, and then high school is 10, 11, and 12. But there is history, there's science, there's English and math, and indirectly there's reading. The English encompasses reading as well. So I'm going to show you the elementary school math. I was working in this yesterday with a teacher to help her get her curriculum ready for her next managed enrollment rotation. And one of the things I noticed that I like very much is that these standards over here correlate exactly to the TABE test domains. So if you're using the profiles for TABE and it shows that your students are non-proficient, say in operations and algebraic thinking, there is a section for that. Not only is it in the fifth grade, but it's at fourth grade and third grade and second grade and first grade, even kindergarten level. So this allows you to address the domain that students need to work on at the level they need to work on it. So you have the domain at K through 5 levels. And that's pretty unusual in my experience. Um, so let's look at operations and algebraic thinking at the fifth grade level. So I just click on my standard over here, and it takes a second sometimes for it to populate. But here is a lesson on introducing coordinates. And the best way that I can describe this is it's sort of an interactive PowerPoint. Students could definitely use this individually through your account, but this is more designed to be used as classroom instruction, direct instruction. You can see the objective or the standard, I guess I would say up here, aligns to TABE, and then you can see the two domains of that standard with respect to fifth grade. So if your student is on an E level test on TABE or a low M level, this would be appropriate for them. So under this domain, there are two objectives. We want them to write and interpret numerical expressions and to analyze patterns and relationships. And they do that with these PowerPoints. So let's look at introducing coordinates. It does take it a little while to load, I've noticed, at least for me, but it will if you just give it some time. So you could pull this up on your Promethean board or on the projector that you're using, your whiteboard, and work through this with students. Now you have the option down here to make notes, to do some other things. I would play around with these menus down here. Let's click on toggle notes. So you can make notes over here on the side as you're looking at this lesson. Students could do that if they're studying the lesson. And then I'm going to go back to thumbnails where I can see all of those in the line. So you can preview these, you can print these, but the real blessing of this lesson is right here. When you click on Start, you can also view it full screen. That's very helpful if you need to have a large screen. It gives you information about the lesson. It tells you what your goals are. There are notes in the notes field that give you expertise from educators. It allows you to see icons that are relative. For example, this one is a slide where mathematical skills are being developed, and you get notes about those over here in your notes field. Let me pull that back up so those will appear right here. If you see this icon, you are getting slides that contain examples of mathematical modeling, so that moving from concrete to abstract through modeling. And then this icon indicates an opportunity for you to have discussions or group work with your students. The circle with the red stars indicates a slide that contains an interactive activity. And then the open book over here indicates teacher's notes in this notes field. So these slides are present in every lesson, just to remind you of what your focus is as the teacher. So moving on to slide 3, you get all kinds of notes over here. For example, it suggests that you have your students to draw a piece of paper, a square on a piece of paper, divide them in pairs. This is sort of the lesson plan for you to see. You can have students to do more activities. It gives you a suggestion for a story to put this in context. I've used this story myself before about a buried treasure, and the students have a map, and they have to work together to find the treasure based on coordinates. So there is a lot of good information over here. I would not look at this on the day of lesson. I would do that beforehand, but that's just me. So as you click on the screen, you will see things start to pop up. This is the PowerPoint aspect. So our question is, how can we describe the location of this point in the box? So X marks the spot. How can I tell someone how to find X is essentially what we're saying. And so this walks us through how to do that. And you can see the elements of that coordinate grid coming into play here. You click on the next arrow and it walks us through more. There is something to play here. So you can play that. If students are watching it on their own, they can click that to play. It goes through about a minute and a half of lesson material. I won't play it all, but you get the gist of it. They can listen to the text. There are other options, other icons down here to play around with. So this particular lesson has 8 slides. That's another thing I like about this. Here's one about bamboo growing. So you can bring in your science applications here, how this relates to real life. We're even laying the foundation for slope right here. So I like this material. It is anchoring concepts, and you all know how I feel about anchor pieces. This is anchoring knowledge in a way that I rarely see. I love this program. Okay, and you even see that sorry, I clicked out, and I guess I should have let it play all the way to the end. Let me see if I can let you, okay, right here's what I want to see. You see, finally, they actually plot this on a coordinate quadrant, and you can see the beginnings of a lesson about slope here. So you are building foundational skills every step of the way here. Here is a question, a system where you use interaction. So you click start, And look at the difference here, how much more in depth this question is than that first one we saw. And this is about Olympic sprinter Usain Bolt, who's one of my favorite people on earth. So you can apply this to science. You can talk about independent, dependent variables here. In this case, Bolt's distance is dependent on the amount of time. So here is our dependent variable, here is our independent variable, and we are plotting those two things against each other. And then finally, on the last slide, you get a practice game. So this is sort of the quiz. And they set this up as a game, which I think is very nice. You could divide your group into teams, let them work through this with you on the Promethean board. Just a lot of things that you can do with your group. And again, those class notes explain to you how to do that. Okay, that's an example of math. Let me very quickly, I want to exit full screen. I want to show you a science or social studies lesson. You know that I will always go to the math, but I'm just backing up, and I backed up too far. So I'll log in again. I would really have enjoyed this when I was teaching. This is good material. Okay, science. Let's look at some high school science. You can choose the branch of science. These are aligned to Tennessee's academic standards. You can look at those standards if you want to. You can look at different classes of material based on the standards. That's what I'm showing you here. But let me look at just earth and space science, another of my favorites. One of the things I always taught my students was the carbon cycle, because they need to understand how plants and animals interact with each other in an ecosystem. So let me pull this one up. I have not seen it before, so I'm anxious to see how they do this. And I do want to see my notes over on the side, so I click on that post-it note so that I can see this. This one has 30 slides because it is a high school level program. So clicking through them, you notice you have some different icons. So I, as a teacher, would want to know what those are. It tells me the reading skills, the cross-cutting concepts, they call it, the what I would call immersive concepts, where we're linking this, here's scale, proportion, and quantity. We're linking this to math as well as science. This is why I love this material, because it doesn't just teach science, it's teaching everything in one meaningful unit. And that's so important for adult learners. So it starts out with the very basic concept that carbon is a common element. As I click on my slide, it gives me a little bit more. Talks about the spheres. I would take this opportunity to define a sphere from a geometric perspective. Atmo, geo, bio, hydro. You could talk about prefixes here that help build vocabulary. And then it moves to a very nice diagram. This is a good diagram to me because it's very clean, it's very simple. There's not a lot to overwhelm my dyslexic mind. Can you explain what these terms mean? So vocabulary is another part of this. I like that. Then it goes on to link some chemistry in here. Talk about the nucleus of the atom, the atomic weight can be calculated here. Vocabulary again. And I'm going to click through. It talks about atmosphere, hydrosphere, geosphere. So they're reinforcing vocabulary. And then I'm going to click forward. Let's look at our slide thumbnails to see how far ahead. I want to get, here's a good one. Slide 7. This is a table, so you're giving them practice with reading rows and columns. This is very advanced vocabulary here. When I was in school, I was taught that 3 syllables or more are difficult words. So when you get words like photosynthesis and sedimentation, you're getting into difficult vocabulary. But this is high school level. Most of our students will not need this level because if they test at this level, they're probably ready to take the high set. Here at slide 12 is a fill in the blank exercise. If you are having students to do GED, they need this practice because GED is not all multiple choice. There are some fill in the blanks. For me personally, this is a very good way of doing this. I don't like multiple choice as much as I like this kind of thing. So, photosynthesis is a process by which green plants and algae, and I can't get it off of there, make blank from carbon dioxide. Okay, so what do we know? Are they making carbon or are they making glucose? They're making glucose. This requires energy from the sun. In the plant, glucose can be converted to starch and stored in the plant, used for growth or used to carry out blank. So the student gets a chance to practice vocabulary. I love that. Okay. We're even getting into some chemical formulas here. Basic concepts of chemical formulas. That's a good thing. Look at this beautiful diagram. Press play to find out how carbon is recycled. So they get to see this cycle unfold. Instead of me just drawing a graphic organizer, which I would do, I would give them a graphic organizer, have them watch this video so that they can understand this process. Okay, I'm digressing because I enjoy this. Here's the carbon cycle in a nutshell. That is much harder to see and read than that video, but this is the summary. Here you can compare types of absorbing and releasing carbon. This is important in our present day. We need to know about how carbon is moving through our environment. Global warming is a big issue. Here's a graph. Again, dependent variable, independent variable. Teach them those concepts. Here is carbon dioxide and the greenhouse effect. Again, those are concepts that we know to be on high set. And then the last slide is a practice, a summary, sort of a closing activity on our material. Let me just quickly look at social studies. And this time I'm not going to go back. I'm going to go to subjects. I won't belabor this one. Here is United States history. I really just wanted to see where it started. And it started pre-colonies. So this goes into some world history as well. And then it goes all the way through the things we would want our students to know. And I absolutely love this. It teaches them Tennessee history. So if they just want to know about the settlement of Tennessee, my ancestors personally literally had gunfights with John Sevier about whether Tennessee should be one state or two. So Tennessee history was important to me. Legislative branch, executive branch, judicial branch, those are covered. Also the world wars. There is a lot in here, and each of these is in a PowerPoint. So I would encourage you to get into BoardWorks. Just take a look around. You can't do any damage. And if you find things that you find to be especially useful, please share them with all of us because this is good material and we can only just improve on it by sharing. So thanks for watching. I hope you've learned something that will help you. Have a great day.